Documents released by the Chilcot Inquiry show that the UK was concerned that the US was pledging contracts to Russian oil companies in an effort to overcome Russian opposition to the invasion and so on. You told the inquiry no non-Americans were allowed to help run the oil sector in Iraq post-invasion. Was it all about oil, as many people in the Muslim world believe the Iraq war was about?
What I say may not be more than a drop in the ocean, but I want to say very categorically, I never saw any evidence or any indirect indication that this was anything about oil. And people have got to remember that oil from whatever source always reaches the market and is fungible across the world in the global oil market. This was not about oil and should never have been about oil.
But we know that major British oil companies had conversations with the then Trade Minister, Baroness Liz Simons, 5 months before the invasion to position themselves. We also know that Jack Straw, the Foreign Secretary, sent a now declassified letter to Tony Blair in which he said a key objective of the UK government was to increase the involvement of the private sector, leading to sustained investment over the next 5 to 10 years in the Iraqi energy sector. Do you accept that oil was a factor?
But that's a different point.
Before and after the invasion, I'm saying. It was a factor.
No, it wasn't a factor in the decision-making to go to war. It was a factor in the placing of our commercial interests if Saddam was to be exited from Iraq.
But you can see how that might play, the perception.
I can see how people make the confusion. What I'm trying to say to you, Zainab, very clearly, is that oil was not a reason for going to war, never was, and never should be considered. The fact that contracts were an interesting part of the new Iraq was something to compete with the Americans for, and we did so. Actually, let me just give you this statistic. In the first year of the coalition period, we, with 3% of the resources offered on the ground, got 12% of the contracts, the UK. So we did quite well.